Hello and welcome back to the Final Fantasy Tactics All Oracles Challenge being recorded here in February of 2022. Hope you are doing well wherever and whenever you are. Today we are heading to Poeskas Lake. This is another undead battle. It's kind of an in-between battle, not with any story significant character, and it is a destroy all kind of fight. It's also another one of those battles with the undead that in normal runs you make everybody a chemist, you throw 6 Phoenix Downs, and you call it a day. Unfortunately, that's not going to be an option for us, and this was one of the actually most difficult fights in this game that I have bumped into. I thought that the Fineth River was going to give me more trouble, but this one really turned out to be a difficult one against our fellow oracles even. This was, I think, the 5th or 6th attempt at this one because I kept losing characters. I kept losing somebody. I would go into kind of YOLO mode when I got to somebody to hit the ground, and then I would just throw everything I could at them as fast as I could, and was never able to quite finish the battle. So this is the one where I played maybe the most conservative, the most safe, the most way back here. And this obviously was a successful fight, even though there's a big misplay coming up in a little while. I did use the flash hats for these guys to give them as much HP as I could and speed. They have pretty low MP because they have black costumes and flash hats on for this one. And the undead pose a big challenge for this party because I don't want to take them down with damage because if they stay down long enough, they'll revive themselves, or they can. And I also really did not want to have to use sticks in this fight because I want my oracles there to be able to recover hit points that are lost. So they all have bags on except for Ramza, who's got the stick. So my best way to actually deal with these guys is Petrify, and Petrify obviously is never going to be perfectly accurate. So I've got to balance keeping my characters on their feet, keep them alive, while I'm also trying to throw a few Petrifies at these guys whenever I have the opportunity to, and hoping that I can land some with decent luck. So there's 2 Revenant Ghost type enemies that start the battle right by you. Those ones make the most sense to try to just get out of the way, and this was a pretty standard strategy for me. And I decided to move everybody here to this left side because if they bunch up on the other side, the summoner can actually target them with their first action there, that undead summoner who is at the top of that fallen down bridge. So we move everybody over here, and that also really helped because if we move characters up a little bit, the archers could actually plink us from the top of that structure. But putting everybody back over on this side gets them a little bit farther. They're behind a little bit more cover there, so the archers just started moving around the corner, which gives us another couple of rounds to finish our business with these revenants and recover any hit points that we lost from the kind of the opening salvo of the revenants. Because the Ultimus bows from those archers have a base damage of 100, I think. They have an attack power of 10, and these guys, I think their base damage is 100. So if they hit a charging character with a good compatibility in that, they can get 120 or 150, I think, with the bows, especially if they're charging a little bit. So having us charging spells is not a good way for us to be. We do not want to be charging spells, unfortunately. So now the other Revenant there dodged all of our Petrify attacks, and that can happen sometimes. It's unfortunate, but that can happen. So here I'm trying to see where I should move Ramza. I want to keep Ramza especially, out of the way of the archers because he has no way of recovering hit points except casting Life Drain on the other oracles, which I actually considered a couple times in this fight because they have a way to passively recover hit points with their regen status because of the bag. So if one of them was full health, Ramza could drain a quarter of their health, and then they would be a couple of turns away. I guess 3 turns, 2.5 turns of regen away from recovering. So if Ramza ever got in trouble and did take a nasty crit or something from an archer, I would actually have considered that. I didn't end up using it in this fight, but it's one way that Ramza could recover some life, is a life drain on one of his teammates. Because they spend most of the battle at full health, as it is. They spend most of their battle at full health. So here I'm looking to see what I can do, and Donak is going to have a higher chance to land than those Petrifies, and so that's a little bit of an insurance policy in case the Petrifies miss on the Revenant enemy there. at least the Revenant, when it gets a turn, might be in don't act status by the time it gets a turn. And so I didn't have that last Oracle charge a Petrify because I'm trying to preserve MP 1, because when we move, we only get about 10 MP instead of the 16 that we would normally get if we had like gold hairpins and stuff on. But also just to have her get an action sooner, because you can see the archers are moving their way down towards us, and by having her move and wait, her AT or CT, I guess, doesn't get recharged all the way down to 0. So I thought for sure certainly one of those Petrifies must land on that guy. And then the Don't Act will be there too, because Ramza was charging and 2 other Oracles were all charging a Petrify. Now, of course, we all know that there are no guarantees in this life, and Ramza's going to miss, and this one's going to miss. And a third one is going to miss. I'll predict that already. There we go. Miss, miss, miss. So luckily the Don't Act did land, but now she has a turn. And so here's where I was like, well, okay then. So now I had her go ahead and charge that Petrify. So I thought for sure I'd be able to have her like move up and target, the archer with something. So this is trouble right here, because that archer is charging on her, and she's charging, so if he hits her while she's charging, and he certainly will hit her while she's charging, they are going to do a lot of damage. Especially if they both land while she's charging, which she is going to be charging for a while. And that Revenant is going to move out of the way because he's in Don't Act, so Don't Act makes enemies tend to kind of flee the scene. So here I'm looking to see what can I cast. And actually Blind won't help me, because Blind will only increase her evasion, and if she's charging, then you don't get any evasion. You don't get, your mantle won't work. So if she had already cast her spell, I was looking to see, like, well, will her spell have cast? Because then Blind would help by doubling her evasion. But I didn't want to use Blind on these guys because they're almost always going to be able to find somebody who's charging. That was a big problem with these archers, is that they are so fast, and charging can be so slow that there's almost always somebody charging and in range of them. Now, this particular setup was nice because they came down to us because we retreated. In other rolls of this fight, they stayed up top and they stayed safe from us while they just kind of rained arrows down on us. But by moving back here below this little hill, I think I found the right positional setup to bring the archers down. Now, Ramza is targeting a sleep spell on both of them. This is an interesting strategy that I took right here. I'm moving another Oracle in front of that charging Oracle, because the way the archers will target is they will try to arc the arrow over to her, but in certain instances, if they have line of sight, they won't arc the arrow over if they have line of sight to them. So it's possible that depending on what the archers need to do to get that arrow to their target, she may take the hit from that. And I didn't have her charge a spell, because if she takes the hit from the arrow, she will not be charging and will have a chance to dodge it. So the first one charges and hits, but you see the second one right there did hit the character that I moved in front. It wasn't targeting that Oracle, it was targeting the one that I moved in front of her. Now, she didn't dodge it with the mantle, but she had a chance to dodge it with the mantle. So either way, it also just absorbed the damage for her, so not all that damage went on the same character. Now, that puts us vulnerable right here, and this is really unfortunate. That Oracle has moved up. We are in range of that Oracle. We were not able to get that Oracle silenced before the Oracle moved in on us. That was part of the disadvantage of this setup, by moving everybody back and kind of letting the enemies come to you. Generally, they're going to get in position to get you first. If you're just kind of hanging back, if you're not aggressively jumping up. But we needed to get those archers taken care of, and so there we go. Silence lands on both of those Oracles, and now there's really nothing that they can do, because their bags don't do very much damage. Their bags also, I don't want them taking these enemies out with HP damage, because that will make them revive. I really would like to petrify them. But they can't even target them with their, Don't Act and stuff, with Paralyze. So they are basically just out of this fight for a while. So now I have to figure out how I can debilitate the Oracle. The archers are both sleeping, which is great, but the Oracle in another fight on this one, if the Oracle gets a turn, the Oracle may determine that the best course of action is to wake them up with an attack. He's got a stick in a lot of the rolls of this fight. And another unfortunate part about the way this battle rolls up is that Summoner usually has a gold hairpin, so that protects her from silence status. Sometimes she even has like a magic ring, which is like double protection on the gold hairpin. Okay, so right here, we're charging on Ramza, and it actually has a chance to miss. I see that's a 78% chance to land. She's charging a Lich. Lich is kind of a fun one, and it is not. It does have a chance to straight up miss you. So I'm glad that she goes with that rather than one of the just kind of straight up damage dealing ones. But I can see there's a Lich there. And now, unfortunately, the only thing Ramza can really do, he can't silence her because of her gold hairpin. And he's not going to land anything else on her before Lich goes off. So he's got to go for Doubt Fate. Now, Doubt Fate sets her Fate to 0, which is nice because her magic does nothing. It doesn't last super, super long. So you can see that's, I've just looked at zombie status, which is kind of hilarious. And Silence also was a 0. So I've got to go for Doubt Faith. Silence would be the optimal because that way she couldn't cast, but we could still cast on her. Doubt Faith means she can't cast, but also we can't target her with any spells. So we're going to have a 0% chance to land everything. And remember, I've talked a couple times about how I don't want to be taking them out with HP damage, especially this early in the fight where I know I might have quite a few rounds of this battle left, especially given that I have 2 of my characters are silenced right now. So they can't cast anything to finish these guys off. So the Oracle is silenced, and so that's good. I'd really like the Oracle to be in Don't Act status because then the Oracle can't use his action to go over and attack a sleeping archer. And obviously the status I most need that Oracle to be in is Petrify. So, but I need to make sure that I can get my Petrifies in at a time that is an opportune time and they're not wasted. So I'm going to try to target Petrify on the archer right there because eventually the archers will need to be petrified. I might as well try to target them while they're sleeping. So there's Innocent status on the Summoner. This guy is silenced, and he's actually going to move. Instead of attacking the archers, he's going to go after Ramza, and he's going to land on him. Now, that had a chance to land Innocent status on Ramza, which is lucky. Fortunate it did not. Obviously, I was hoping it would miss entirely because Ramza was not charging, but maybe his mantle would protect him, but did not. So here's Lich, but she's in Innocent status, so she's not going to land Lich. There it is. Ramza is right there. Missed him, and he's going to absorb all the MP. Not that Ramza really needs it too badly. So this Oracle is silenced. She's just going to move up so she could pick up a little bit of MP and just be a little bit closer, and she's going to wait. She's going to get HP that she doesn't need. So she's like full health, full MP, but just can't do anything. Obviously, the right move there would have been to target a spell on that guy, a Petrify or a Paralyze. And the Paralyze will go off just before his turn. And looks like Don't Act is going to be a big one. So this is where I want to have him paralyzed so he can't go over and attack one of the archers. Because if he gave the archers Innocent status on his attack, that would be catastrophic for us as well. Because then we couldn't do anything to the archers. We couldn't even put them in blind status at that point if they were an Innocent. So if he attacked an archer and made them Innocent, that would be a catastrophe for us in this fight. Now she's going to move over here. Nothing she can do, so she's going to wait. And I'm safe from the Summoner for a few rounds. And because she's Innocent, she could start moving up to attack us with her. I think she has a gold staff. This Petrify had a 74% chance to land, and it did not. That would have been nice to land. And this Revenant is now out of Don't Act status, so he's going to come back into the action. Going to go for the little throw soul. But that was guarded, protected by the mantle. Now here comes a problem. Here comes a problem. Ramza is looking at what he can do. And he sees that he is 5 tiles away from the Summoner. And I, in my not very strong wisdom at that moment, moved Ramza up into a charging, and it's right now where I figure it out. That was like, oh no, I have a Don't Act spell that's charging on that Oracle, which I've just moved myself into. And as an added bonus, I cannot target the Summoner with anything. So I moved him up so that he could target the Summoner with a spell, forgetting that she was already an Innocent spell, and I'm moving Ramza into the way of that Paralyze spell. So this is quite cringy to watch. But yes, you can see how much of a problem that is. So the rod hit does not land, and that I don't know if that would have like healed the silent status or applied silent status. I don't actually know what that blue letters mean. The octagon rod, I don't know about that. Maybe it would have healed. I have to look that up. I don't think I've seen that before. because normally that's white letters. Maybe the blue letters means that being attacked with the Octagon Rod would have healed them of silence. But anyway, here is Don't Act. It lands on the Oracle, and it lands on Ramza. So now I have 3 characters who cannot cast. Ramza can't do anything, and then I have the 2 other ones who are in silent status. So Ramza's not even going to get his move MP up. Don't Act doesn't even give you your movement skill, or your this gives you nothing. Gives you nothing. So he's not going to pick up anything as he moves around. So now I have 2 characters who are able to cast. I've got 2 sleeping archers on their side, and I've only petrified 1 enemy. So at this point in the battle, it's just fun. I've only dealt with 1 enemy permanently. I've got 1 petrified revenant. I definitely should. The other one should be petrified because it got targeted with like 5 or 6. I don't know, maybe 5 petrifies, and they all missed. But that's part of what this class is like. That's the joy of playing with oracles. So I know that summoner is going to get an action, so I'm trying to figure out what the best I can do. She can move, so if I target her directly with something, she can move to one of my characters because she'll probably take a swing at somebody. So, you know, I can also target a petrify, and it looks like that's what I decided to go for here, to maybe try to permanently take out one of those archers and just let the summoner come up, because I want her up here with us. I want her right in the swing of things. I want to be able to target her with a bunch of characters. Hoping that this petrify lands on the Oracle, and it does. So the Oracle is in Don't Act status and in petrify status, so he is out of the fight. So the Ghost is going to move up here, and it's going to try, I think this is the Drain Touch. And that does land. I don't really care about the life drain. The damage is not great, but I want to keep them full health, because if that summoner gets out of innocent status, then she'll start targeting us. And the game is actually smart enough to know if the summoner is going to recover from the status before a spell resolves. We're not really privy to that as players, but the game itself can. So I've noticed that when she's in innocent status, if she gets an action, moves, and targets a summon, then I know that the game has figured out that she knows that she's going to be out of the status before the spell actually resolves. So I don't really want to see her move and target a summon, because summons charge relatively quickly compared to our spells. But right now, there's really nothing I can do with that summoner. It's unfortunate, because I don't want to swing a bag at her, and I can't target her with a petrify. So I need her to recover from her status, and then I need to hit her with something right away. This is where it would be helpful for me to know exactly when she's going to recover from that status, because I could start charging a petrify on her, but I don't want to do it and waste a spell or waste an action, because I could be also going after the ghost, you know. So she's looking to see what she can do. She can't hit the summoner with anything yet. Obviously, Don't Act. The summoner is susceptible to Don't Act status. She is susceptible, but it's just going to be tricky to land it on her, because I don't want her getting turns while she's up and moving. Not much Ramza can do here, and you notice he did not pick up any MP, because when you're in Don't Act status, you do not get your movement bonuses like that. So he doesn't pick up his move MP up. So here is Petrify, hoping to finally land it on the Ghost. There we go. So there is one less enemy to deal with, one fewer enemy to deal with. And now I have a Summoner who is in Innocent status, and you see she moved and is targeting a big spell. Now look at this. I have a Caster who could move up and target the Summoner, but she is still in Silence. Silence lasts a long time in this game. It lasts a long time. So there is Innocent has expired. So in the time that the silence was on us, Innocent was applied and expired on her. Like, you know, it is much longer than the entire duration of the Innocent status. And similar with Don't Act as well. You'll see that Ramza is going to recover from Don't Act long before Silence expires, which is why Silence is such a potent skill. And at this point in the game, where Gold Hairpin is kind of a common piece of armor, it's really troublesome. It's really a bad deal for us. And there, Ramza is now back in action. So he is out of Don't Act status. That Summoner is charging another spell. It is another Lich. So now I just need to I need to do a couple more things. I need to survive this summon. I need to get that summoner either petrified or otherwise unable to cast. And then eventually I need to get someone to land Petrify on that last sleeping archer before he wakes up. And a lot of my characters are pretty high health. You know, the one that took a big hit from the ghost, she'll be about 2 or 3 turns of, I guess closer to 3 turns of regen before she's full health again. But, you know, we're gaining it back. Here comes Lich again. I'm not sure why she went with Lich so much in this fight. Other battles of this one, she would use your traditional Shiva or your Titans. I don't think I saw Lich until this particular battle, and it was targeting Ramza, and it landed on him. And he sucks up the MP. So here Ramza is pretty low on hit points, obviously. So Ramza's moving over here, looking to see what he can do. Or now he's checking to see when it's gonna land. And so Petrify will go after she has a turn. So I'm actually a little bit nervous that if he goes over into her range and is charging, if she gets an action, she might come up and hit him with her stick, with her shillelagh, and that it might be almost enough to take Ramza totally out. So here's Don't Act. He's charging it on her. I think that was going to time out to go before she had a turn. That's why he wanted that to land and not try to do a Petrify, so that she couldn't move over with her gold staff and hit him. She's moving over here in case the summoner goes up again. She's silent, so she can't target anything right now. So she's moving over there. There's the archer taken care of. So she's just kind of moving into position so that if this battle does get extended, she's going to be in okay position. So you can see right there, she did target him with her stick. And I guess I didn't quite time it out. I think I did think about this, though, that if she brought it over and got Ramza targeted with it as well, I didn't mind that so much because now it's 4-on-1, although I still only have 2 casters, so it's really more 2-on-1. And see, that's why she's moving up and waiting, because, yeah, silence is still there. You know, this silence lasts a very, very, very long time on its own. And there's just really not much I can do about it. Unless that Octagon Rod, unless I could, like, attack someone with an Octagon Rod and have it remove silence, I don't know. Until I was recording this, I wasn't aware of that being blue, so I'll have to look that up. So here we go. So I've got 2 Petrifies charging on her. And I'm moving this one back so that she can hop down. She can't actually hop over that ledge. So if in case this becomes a chase, I'm moving her down so that if this does become a chase, we can do this. Now Ramza, I do not want him hitting the ground. I want him on his feet right here. So I'm moving him away from that summoner if I can, and now I'm just going to try to move this particular oracle into a position that will make the summoner go around her, because a petrified character does act like a barrier. I think even if it's a friendly petrified character, you can't move through it. So she's moving here so that the summoner, who is also in Don't Act status, still can't go over to target Ramza. Now we just need a petrified to land. That one does not. And here's where I'm getting ready for it to become a chase. First one misses, and that one finally lands, and there we go. On try number 5 or 6 on Poeskas Lake, we got it. Whew. So if you've been liking these videos, feel free to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, or hit me up on Twitter where I'm also active _ATE. We will see you at Limberry Castle.